Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Happy Monday. I'm here with my friend Gaby Guzman.
Hi, everybody.
And we're going to talk today about investing in yourself and our experience with how our life really started to change as we started to give ourselves more love, do more things for ourselves. And we're actually doing work together in a sister group this year. And we were just thinking about how much it's changed our life. And we just wanted to talk about that because it's, we're getting ready for the next year. And we want you to be able to have a really 2019 that's like where you actually can receive blessings. But we also have to talk about the work that it requires and the self-love that it requires and how it's really not that hard to at least get started. It's hard when you're in it.
Yeah.
but to actually get it started, to actually commit, it's like not so hard. So we just wanted to have that conversation with you, and that's why I brought Gaby here today. But so Gaby, you tell me a little bit about kind of how you decided that okay, something needs to change, and when you started. I mean, you're really good at investing in yourself. Like, I feel like Gaby, I'm at her house right now. I'm like, you have all the things. Like, you tell her this is like gonna help her. Like,
I'm like, I have a coach, a healer, a person, a reader.
For everything,
the whole team.
You're so good at it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like how that happened for you.
So for me, the catalyst was becoming an entrepreneur. Because I felt like, for those of you out there that are, I think that there's something about switching over to a place where every single penny that you make is based on you and your work and how you're showing up. And so that has the ability to bring up every insecurity and every fear that you have ever had. Mm-hmm. And so I think I intuitively knew that if I didn't invest in myself and I didn't really work on myself at a soul level, that I just wasn't going to make it. Right. Like, I was probably just going to go back and find another job. And so that was the thing that sort of pushed me to it. But I think there's been a lot of intuition and really kind of having, I think for me, it's more like on a seasonal basis. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes I'm like, you know what, like I'm ready to just kind of like hustle and strategy and like plan and get it done. And then sometimes I'm like, I just want to love on my soul and like learn good things and get back to myself. And so I'll invest in myself depending on what I'm feeling like I need.
So what do you think investing in yourself is?
Oh, wow. I mean, for me,
because investing has it sounds like money.
Yes.
But it's not, I mean, some of these things require money.
Yes.
What do you think that is?
I mean, to me, at the end of the day, is to the extent, I mean, like you would have and make an investment, right? It's for, so that whatever you're bringing into your life, whatever teaching, whatever coach, whatever experience is leaving you a better person and is leaving you closer to who you really are and where you want to be. Right. So that's how
I think like investment can be time, it could be resources, but at the end of the day, like it's not necessarily always money. It's just like even doing a practice. Like, let's say you're like, okay, I'm gonna start doing gratitude practice every day, 5 minutes. Like, to me, that's an investment. Like, you're investing in yourself, which then that investment creates the shift that like later you might not see it right away, but like a few weeks, months from now, you see that shift because you've been investing 5 minutes of your time every day. So it's like a little piggy bank, but for yourself. I think. So when I started like investing in myself, doing work on myself, I went through like a bad breakup in my 20s. And I was just like, I need something, like it's usually those things. It's usually like those things, but therapy wasn't like, I don't know, it was just not in my like idea of like what I was gonna do. I don't think that was like therapy wasn't like super accepted in my family and all that stuff. So that's when I started getting into like really woo-woo stuff. Like, that's when like
you went off the deep end.
Yeah, I went to the deep end. Like, I started doing, and I just like started doing a lot of like healing work, and I just found all these weird things. Like, that's when I got my certification for theta healing, which is a lot of like that's how I'm able to like read energy and stuff. So it's interesting because putting time into myself, and I was an editor at the time. I never thought I was going to do this work. Was like the thing that gave me so much of like the beauty that I have now. So like even just like investing a little bit of that time. But I don't know, why do you think people, so Gaby and I are both in like the business of getting people to invest in themselves. Like, we're both in the business of like trying to convince people that like they need to do some sort of work. to able to see the change that they want, right? Because a lot of people book with me to do readings, and I do amazing readings, but it's like this one time, and I can give you these ideas of what you need to do, but the big difference that I see are the people that take like the advice and the messages, and the people that don't. And I wonder, like, why do you think people don't put in the work sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I find that for a lot of people, I find that for a lot of people, it's about maybe just like the stage that they're at. Because there are a lot of people that have ended up working. We did it too close.
I did too close. Let me move back.
There's a lot of people that are, for example, working with me now, but I know that we met 3 years ago. And for them, it was just kind of like a slower, they needed to feel ready. So there's that happens sometimes.
I agree. Like, it's like, even in myself, like, I'm so stubborn that, like, I revisit things that, like, I should have been, not that I should have, but that, like, I was introduced to a year ago, and then I'll revisit it a year later.
Yeah. So yeah, I know it's interesting. I mean, I feel like you have to be the kind of person that buys into yourself. Like, I remember going to a conference one time, and this was like maybe 2.5 years ago, when I was trying to really define, like, okay, what is it, maybe like 3 years ago now, like, what is it that I want to do next? And there was this idea, like, I'm gonna bank on me. Like, I'm gonna put my investment in me, because
it's so smart, because you're like the machine.
Yeah.
You're the thing that, like, you're the mom. Like, we're both moms. Like, we are in charge of, like, humans. We have houses to take care of, like, relationships, all that stuff. And it's like, why put money anywhere else?
Yes,
like,
yes. And it was this idea of,
or
like,
effort, not even money, but like effort. Why,
Yeah, like I wasn't 100% sure, like, what the action was going to be next, but I was sure about me. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, as long as I'm banking on me and investing in me, that is a good bet.
Right. Because you believe. Now, I think there's people that don't do it because I think they don't trust themselves. Yeah. And I think a lot of times we think, like, why am I going to put effort into me, because I've let myself down so many times. Yeah. So, like, that's a little bit hard, but I think that's because I don't know, like, I think that, like, maybe because I have those tendencies too, like, oh, am I really gonna spend this money and purchase this thing or do this thing? Like, am I really gonna do what if I don't do it? Mm-hmm. Any advice on how to get over that?
I don't know, I feel like for me, the moments that I felt like that, like, that's exactly when I need to invest, because I have felt more sure about myself as I do these programs, as I hire these coaches, as I become closer to where I want to be. I get more confident, and I am able to trust myself more. So it's almost like a catch-22. Like, at some point, you jump and you try the thing that right. that you've been wanting to do. And a big thing that I always tell people is, like, always, like, just bring on the person or the experience that you want to learn from, that where you feel like, I'm gonna chill here and hang out a little bit and really kind of dive into this. If it feels forced or weird, or you're feeling pressured from it from the outside, then that's a no for you.
And I also think, like, for me, I know that, like, the times that I've, like, quote unquote invested in myself, it's like, and that it hasn't worked out, it wasn't like a real commitment, or I wouldn't do it, like, full way. Like, I think that the real change is when I brought, like, other people on, like, not just like, oh, I'm gonna watch this video, or I'm gonna read this book.
Yes.
Like, which they can help, like, I feel like it's almost like when you're washing dishes and you have, like, a dish that's, like, full of, like, really hard stuff. You have to, like, put water and soap for a little bit, like, it's soft, and that's like what a book does.
Yes.
Like, it, like, softens it for you. Yes. Like, it gets you, it opens you, but it's not necessarily, like, it's not necessarily the thing that's gonna take off, like, all the dirt.
Yeah, you still have to get the gunk out.
Yeah. So I think that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
So Gabby and I this year, at the beginning of the year, we joined a sister circle, which I didn't even know what I was signing up for. And Gabby and I talked about it. We were like, what'd you sign up for? I'm like, I don't know. Like, we don't know what we signed up for. And, like, it's funny. It's like, I think we signed up for, like, even just signing up for those things, it's like you're saying, like, I'm going to put focus in this area of my life, and I have people who are going to hold me accountable. And that works really well. I think you also have to know like how you work. Like, so for instance, like I know that am more like, and this is like the people pleaser part of me, like I'm more likely to do a good job for somebody else than I am for just me. Like if it's just me, and I think most of us are like that, right? So even like in my business or whatever, like sometimes I'll hire people, not because I can't do it, but because like they're gonna hold me accountable, and like they're gonna remind me that like, hey, you have to do this thing or whatever. Or, and even like the sister circle was like, yeah, I can do all this stuff myself. Like, yeah, like I can have these conversations and think about it or journal or whatever. But like just knowing that like, okay, I have to show up for people. I have to talk to these women about my emotions.
Yeah.
Like is just like, and that's the way that I work. Like it's not that we can't do it by ourselves. Like, sure. I understand all these things, but it's the showing up and like having a commitment, like just having a time and a place that like you have to be there. And that's really the magic.
I agree 100%. I have felt the same way. I am also a creature of, I'm so much more likely to do something if I've told other people that I would do that thing. And just knowing that, you know, you sat down and you looked in the eyes of other people and you committed to something that you know is important to you, that you want to do anyway. And you know that you're going to come back and sit in that same chair a month from today. You're not going to want to sit there and be like, I actually didn't do anything. Right. You know, there's going to be something inside you that's going to be the extra motivation to make this thing a priority that you know you want to make a priority.
And I think if, like, going back to what we were saying, like, I think if you're afraid to be one of those people that I sign up for things, but I don't do anything, I think we were talking about this a little bit off camera, you have to be better at deciding what's important to you and what's not. Because you may be saying yes to a lot of things and be like, I'm going to do a bunch of things. And therefore, everything that you commit to is like a watered down version of a commitment. It's like, it's not a full commitment. It's like, I'm just trying to do all these things. I'm trying to make everybody happy rather than be like, okay, I'm only going to do 5 things this year. And like, these are the 5 things, like I'm going to, you know, be there for my kids. I'm, you know, whatever. I'm going to do this thing for me. But like, I think narrowing, like a big way to make sure that your investment is worth it is to make sure that you're not saying yes to a bunch of other things.
Of course.
Like just saying, okay, I'm going to do this, you know, program, or I'm going to do this, like the sister circle, like that's all I did this year. You know, like that was like my big thing, and I was fully committed into that because I had really strong boundaries about everything else, like very clear on what else I was committing to. And that was a big shift for me, because I used to say yes to a lot of things. And then I would be like, I'm the worst at commitment. And it's like, no, you're not the worst at commitment. You're just piling on everything.
Too many, yeah.
You're piling on too many things. And you're not making anybody happy. You're not making yourself happy. And then it's like self-sabotaging, because you're like, oh, I'm such a bad person because I can't follow through on these things. But like, you can't follow through because you're trying to do too many things.
There's only so many hours in the day.
Exactly. So I think that like, don't sign up for something if you're going to sign up for a bunch of things.
Yeah, it's just having a heart-to-heart with yourself and understanding, like, what are the things that are important to me next year? Is it finding love? Is it starting this business or growing this business? Is it your relationships? Like, whatever it is, get really clear, because you're not, the thing that I feel like also comes up in a lot of these sort of group and sort of more long-term experiences is that you have the space and the time to actually see some kind of transformation. As opposed to kind of like a one-time thing, which might be very insightful and might wake up a lot in you. If you're really going to see growth and transformation over time, that takes time. And these kinds of group experiences lend themselves to helping you do that.
Yeah. That, and and that's another thing, you have to know yourself, right? Like I need time. Yeah. Like I don't like to admit that I need time. You're faster.
Sometimes.
But I think you're quicker. Like you're more likely to jump. Like I'm like,
oh yeah.
I'm like, if the water's cold, like let me put in like another foot. Yeah. Like, you know, like, and I feel like you're,
and then we're like in the deep end.
And you're like, I don't feel anything. And I'm like, but why? Like, I feel my toe is cold, but you're like all the way. So we're just different in that way.
Yes.
But I think that is important to know, because that also means what kind of thing is the best thing to sign up for.
Yes.
You know, like the sister circle was one of the best things, because it was such a, you know, it's like a slow kind of soft progression for me, as opposed to like maybe like doing a boot camp. Like I would resist that from like the beginning.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was like, okay, no pressure, so, like whatever, was really what made
was
change.
good. Yeah. That's a good point. It's a really important thing to notice about what you're jumping into. Does it flow with your personality and sort of like the way that you thrive in your work?
Yeah. So I just think like, I don't know, I just think like we misunderstand investing in ourselves too. Like, what do you think are some ways that people think they're putting effort into themselves, but they're not?
Oh, man.
Or maybe not even, no, like subconsciously. Like, I think sometimes we're like, oh, I'm gonna buy these like, and there's nothing wrong with buying like pretty clothes or whatever, but I think like sometimes we think like, oh, if I buy this $600 bag, it's gonna make me really happy and I'm gonna feel confident. Which is, it could, but you would have to do I think you have to do like other things. Like, I think sometimes we think acquiring things are investing in ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I know I do that. Like, I know that when I think like when I need to make a change, I'll be like, I need a new computer. That new computer is going, and I'll convince everybody in my house. So, like, I have every gadget, you guys. Like, I have every gadget you can think of. Because I think that like that gadget is going to make the shift in me. But that gadget is outside of me. And like, that's not a real, it doesn't mean that I don't need it. Yeah, like it can help me or whatever. But like, without doing the investment in me, that gadget is just a gadget.
Yeah.
It's just like a plant. It's just
completely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. To me, like, it's very primal and raw. Like, it comes down to waking up in the morning and not feeling anxiety, and waking up in the morning knowing who I am and feeling like I'm gonna be in a good flow throughout the day, doing things that I am excited about doing, and sort of just like being in that flow. And so for me, any experience or program or person that seems to resonate with helping me stay there is something that I will jump into. So there's a lot of, and you guys, I'm here like after 3.5 years of doing these kinds of things consistently, right? Like, I'm able to express myself this freely about it.
You've been so good about it.
Because I've been doing that kind of work. At the beginning, it was just like, I'm freaking out. That might help. Let me go. Like, it was like, that was the thought process. But yeah, now it's a lot more intuitive. Now it's a lot more like, oh, I want to work on finding the right partner. Oh, I want to work on specifically dealing with this part of my money mindset thing, you know? And I'll seek people out or experiences that will help me in that.
When was the first time you invested in yourself and you saw that it worked?
So
that's probably what got you to be such a good.
You know what was really good? I don't know if you guys have heard of this thing called the Creative Insight Journey. This woman, Jennifer Grace, taught it at the Standard.
But you know what's so funny? I was invited for free because I was in media. And you know, when things are free, you never take full advantage of it. But I did enjoy.
Yeah. And so there was like, they always had an intro session, but it was, I think, like an 8-week program. And I did it concurrently. I started it the month that I also started my business. And to me, the whole program is just about like helping you uncover what's holding you back, helping you see your true nature, helping you really unlock your creativity, which were all things that I very much was seeking in that moment in my life. And I think I was able to be in that program and be able to apply things like immediately. That's another thing I really like about these sort of group experiences and programs, is that you really feel like you're you get to apply them right away. It's not like going to school and then you learn some theory and then like you leave and one day you hope that you remember the thing that you learned. No, like you're learning and acting and learning and acting and learning and acting and processing and experiencing and trying and it's like all happening very woven in.
Right, it's not like just in theory.
Which gets to be internalized at another level, I think.
And you're actually like, you and even just like, it's so funny, like sometimes it's like those worksheets and like
they really work.
It's like so strange. It's just, I honestly think like it's just like just the time, right? Like it's just like, okay, I'm gonna take this 1 hour for this area in my life, like duh, like of course, like I don't care. Even if you're not fully invested, like if you sit there and you do 1 hour, like things are gonna shift in you.
Yes.
And I honestly don't think things shift without it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like I really, really don't. Like when I hear my clients are like, okay, yeah, like I'll sit on it, or yeah, like I get that. And then they'll call me a year later for the same thing, and I'm like, well, what'd you do last year? Like, what did you do? Like, really, what did you do for yourself? You know, like this, they want me sometimes to like tell them that their future is gonna be different.
Yeah.
But like, and it doesn't mean that you have to, it's not masculine, like, oh my God, I have to physically do things. but even just be open to the idea of changing and even like letting it leave you, because I feel like our sister circle is a lot like that. It's not like we're not doing worksheets, we're not like physically doing some things, but we're open to the idea of letting things lift and like leave us.
Yes.
And that's very feminine. Some of these programs are going to be masculine because like, you know, like we have to do things at times like are more, but I just feel that like if you don't do any of that, and that's kind of like therapy, I think is like that too. You know, you're sitting there and you're, you know, whatever, and that's a little bit of a slower approach. But like, it's just so hard for me to have people come year after year and expect a different future when they have not shifted any energy.
Yeah.
And the shifting requires focus.
Yes.
You know?
And intention. And so whatever that means to you, right? I think sometimes it's just being open to that focus and that intention and asking the universe to show you which one is the right program. I mean, right now, the coach that I work with right now, I listen to her on a podcast. You know, if I hadn't listened to that particular podcast episode, I might not be working with her. But I was really like, hey, universe, like I'm ready for what's next and I'm looking for something very specific and I can't even wrap my head around what it is. But when I heard her, I was like, she's it. Like it was immediate. We had one conversation and we're like, we love each other. We're working together. Yeah. So be open to it.
So let's talk about something really real, which is money.
Yeah.
And Gaby's the single mom. Like she, you know, has all these things because she works for them. And this is like, you know, we're in her home right now and she has all these beautiful things, but it's because she's created this. So I'm sure it's probably really hard for you to hear somebody be like, well, I just can't afford it. And you're like, lady.
Yeah.
Like that's probably like an excuse you can't really hear.
Yeah,
so like, okay, sometimes things are expensive. I'm sure your coach is expensive.
Yes.
You know, like I said, our sister circle was something we pay for every month, and like we could be using that money for other things, but we pay for it every month. So what helped you get over the money story, the money situation?
Yeah, I mean,
when you had all the excuses in the world.
Totally. I mean, I had a business coach that said it best. She was like, don't let money be an excuse. And it really isn't. I just feel, it's funny that I've got into this place where I know and I understand fully what I can manifest. And I trust that if this program is calling me, it's because it is for me. And so the money will appear. And not that it will like you'll wake up like, da-da-da.
Yeah, like
it's not gonna like, a lotto's gonna appear, but you're gonna make this happen. Like you're gonna make this happen and you get to trust that you're either going to make that money or you're going to receive it in some way and it's going to be okay. You know how you can like be real with yourself about that and sort of how much to push, right? Like even with my own programs, I try to have them be, you know, it's a fair and even energy exchange, but it's fair, you know, it's not this like crazy thing for the people that I'm going to be working with. But for most people, anytime that they invest in something new, it is a little bit of a stretch, and that's what it's supposed to feel like. Because also, I think another thing that I think about is like, if you want to level up, and if you want to grow, then it shouldn't feel comfortable, right? It should feel like a little bit of a, God, can I really afford this? Like, where am I going to cut so I can make this happen? And also, how am I going to trust so that more appears, right? I think like it's just like being in that practice on a regular basis.
And you know, sometimes that is the work, right?
Yeah.
Like the obstacles that show up in front of these programs, like are the work. You know, like you know, I've been wanting to do this like shaman program, and it's in you know, it's in the UK, and like I was about to go do it, and I was like super pregnant, and I was, you know, my husband and my doctor were like, not a good idea, and I was supposed to like fly over, and I've like yet to be able to get there, and like to me that is like part of the work. Like, Nikki, how are you gonna get there? How are you gonna get yourself, like, even if you sign up for a conference, let's say, like, you know, especially as a mother, you know, like there's like, it's so hard to make everything happen to actually get there, or if you're single and like it's hard to make the money to get there, and like that's part. You getting over that is part of, like, we went on our sister circle, we went camping, and I had to bring my whole family, and she had to use like a tent for the first time and bring her son, and we had to convince my husband that he needed to take care of all the kids while we
everybody's children.
And he will never let. It was like 2 hours, guys, and it was like 2 extra kids, but he will never. I'm like, listen, like we do this all the time as mothers, and he was like,
yes.
You remember that time we went camping and I took care of all the kids, all two extra kids, and they were boys nonetheless, so and they were older, so it was funny. But anyways, like that, you know, having to hear that from my husband, like her having to figure out how to put the tent, like us all trying. That was part of the work.
Oh, 100%.
Like
100%.
That challenge and being able to feel get okay with being uncomfortable was part of the work. And like who you became after doing that work.
Yes. It's not supposed to feel like, oh, like just another day. Like it's supposed to push you a little bit, and almost like I love using this analogy. Like I almost like you start to feel like you're wearing like a little girl's clothes, and you just have to like step out of it because you feel like you're getting bigger, but it is going to be uncomfortable like as you move through
you're like,
it.
Oh, this doesn't,
This doesn't fit anymore. Like I need bigger clothes, and that's going to come at a ticket that maybe I wouldn't feel super comfortable with, and that's okay. Yeah.
So what do you know, are you going to invest in anything for 2019?
I think I'm going to keep working with the coach that I have right now.
Okay.
But I'm also like, I've been kind of like a serial signer-upper to things this year.
Well, and that's a good, I mean, I think that's something to talk about too.
Yes.
I mean, I think that, what do you think? What are your thoughts about yourself?
Yes.
Like when you sign up for too much, but we're, you know.
Yes. I feel like what I get to work on is that sometimes, like, if something is uncomfortable or if I'm going through something, that I could just sit with that for a moment. Sometimes it passes. Sometimes it just requires some introspection and just some time with myself. And that I can get myself out of that funk. But I'm very much like, oh, like, who do I call to hire to get me out of this? Right? Like, what do I sign up for? Like, who's going to pull me out? Who's going to save me? Who's going to pull me out? As opposed to, like, oh, maybe sometimes I can pull myself out. Not to say that, like, I wouldn't have done many of these things again, but I think just, like, a little more thought into what I signed up for, considering that, like, I'm already, like, in 25 different things.
Yeah, no, I get that. And we all go through that. I think that's, like, a stage. Because you just saw like the benefit of how much it helped you.
Yeah,
like, when it's helped you before, so you're like, oh, I could do all these areas in my life, you know. So, but yeah, you realize you gotta like focus on one thing at a time or whatever. In 2019, I am going to invest in certain like, I don't even know if I want to use the word employee because that means like full time, but I need like certain roles in my business to happen, and it needs to happen, and that's an investment. Like, and that's for me to be able to do the other things that like I need to do or whatever. So that's, I think those are
awesome.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And maybe find a business coach. So those are the things. So speaking of investing, if you want to invest in your love life or if you want to invest in your business life, we both have really good programs for 2019. We would love to have you. I have, as you know, the Final Swipe Masterclass, which is slow and fast, and you'll have me, you know, with you holding your hands, but we also have, you know, meditations and court and classes, and we have a community. So if you're talking about love and you've had a session with me and you think that it's gonna change, and you're not, and you're not doing anything, like that's hard for me. But so please come and join the Final Swipe Masterclass. We will make sure to. Well, I don't know. I guess we would have to say it here because you can't really leave like how they sign up.
Oh, sure.
Well, you can go to my. You can go. The link is in my bio, and then Gabby will tell you a little bit about what she has going on.
Yeah. I mean, and also just a side note, as I'm also Nikki's client. And I always joke around that this is the woman responsible for me having any kind of love life or any kind of attempt at a love life. So yay. So I'm signed up for the Final Swipe, and I'm looking forward to it. And so with on my end, I help women just get the clarity and the courage that they need to move forward with their business goals. So whether you're starting a business or you're ready to grow or find community in your business, I have 2 mastermind programs coming up next year. One is in person and one is online, and they run for 5 months. So they start in January and they run through May. So if you're interested in finding out more, just reach out to me, DM me at the Gaby Guzman, GabyGuzman. on Instagram, and maybe we'll also share some.
Yeah, we'll make sure to link on stories and all that stuff and share Gabby. But if you like are thinking about starting a business, if you have some sort of business like Gabby, I mean, I think it's just a testament to like what you've done in your own business, like that she's like, I don't know, taken nothing and made something. She's so magical in that. I mean, it's very, very powerful in that way. And I highly recommend it. And that's, I mean, she's just, she walks her talk.
Yeah.
So that's why I brought her on today, and I wanted you guys to meet her and also to talk about everything that we talked about. So rewatch the video if you need to, and really ask yourself, what do I need to invest? What area of my life do I need to invest in for 2019? And if it's not with us, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
If that's not, just I want you to ask yourself, like, what am I going to give myself that actually like gives to my soul, and not just like an outfit or whatever, or a new couch. Those things are great, but like what am I going to give to myself to be able to move the energy so that I can create more of these couches and things and all whatever. But like, what am I going to give to myself? So please, in here, let us know like what you're going to give to yourself. DM me, DM Gabby. Let us know what you're going to give to yourself in 2019. All right? See you next week.
Bye.